Okay, it is 6:05 and we are ready to start and welcome everyone to the room. This is, I'm Dr. Misha Ford, CEO of 3TG Staffing and a business owner for 15 years. A couple other cool stuff I've done, Goldman Sachs ambassador, Forbes council member. But let me explain to you about Sara that gives us this platform, Dr. Sara E. Davis, a PhD from Kennesaw Family Enterprise. She is really a supportive of local businesses, small business, enterprise businesses in Georgia at KSU. And we are so happy that she gives us her time and her platform to come out and mingle. So Misha's mingling here with you guys. That's what I'm going to call it today. Every day it changes. So I would like to welcome our lineup. It is going to be a great lineup tonight. We have Shannon Wilson, Esquire. Can you wait to us? And hey, we have Shannon. She has on y'all want me to give you a rundown what she got on? It is so cute. She has on a colorful jacket. And then Michael here, he has on a blue jacket. Michael, can you give us a wave? Michael Robinson, thank you.
Get a forward
Financial
up for
advisor.
you.
Then we have Marcus L. Dorsey from Dorsey CPA. Marcus, can you give us a little wave?
Hello.
Thank you for attending. And then we have a bonus tonight. Megan, give us a little wave. She's colorful too. Hey,
Hey
girl.
guys, how are you doing this evening? Looking forward to
Absolutely.
chatting. There we
Thank
go.
you. Thank you. I was going to do this whole formal introduction, but I'm not. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. You
Cool
guys can
beans.
start where you want to start. I'm going to start with the biggest smile in the room, and that's Megan.
Oh, hey. All right, guys. Hi, how y'all doing? My name is Megan Harris. I am an Atlanta native. Been here my whole life. Love what I do. I love connecting with folks and making tough conversations easier to have by pulling in some personal experiences and things I've seen out here, and also understanding that sometimes adulting is just ghetto. So, in a nutshell. But I'm excited to be a part of this great team here and happy to contribute.
Awesome.
Marcus.
Thank you so much.
All right. Hi, I'm Marcus Dorsey with Dorsey CPA. We are a CPA tax firm. We help people as business owners as well as individuals with lowering their tax liabilities as well as with wealth creation as well. Um, I've been in the industry for what, 30 years? So about 30 years. So worked with a number of different organizations as well as from athletes to larger organizations like the YMCA and other companies such as that. And happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Marcus. Next.
Oh, I have to go next. Hello, my name is Michael Robinson. I'm a financial planner. I've been in the industry for 30 years. God, this time passes so quick. With Apogee Financial Partners, Megan and I are business partners. We share clients and we work on clients together. And I keep saying this, and I'll always say this. Talking to Megan is like talking to me, so we have a very similar mind. Again, she's the smarter one, I'm the prettier one, so it kind of works out. And so yeah, we really focus on, just kind of like I say, making those hard conversations easier, and getting people from where they are to where they really, really want to be financially. And that's really what we focus on.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I am Shannon Wilson. I'm the founding attorney for Legacy Legal. It is always my pleasure to assist my clients with custom estate planning. In doing that, I work with individuals, parents, aging individuals, business owners, as well as anyone with an interest in leaving a legacy to ensure that they plan properly so that when they leave that legacy, they are leaving legacy, just that, rather than a mess. And people often don't realize that that starts in the very beginning, especially for business owners. It starts when you are forming that business, makes all the difference in what that legacy looks like in the end. So including that business succession planning in their legacy and wealth building.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Sarah, you want to talk a little bit about yourself too, your background?
Sure. So, welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Sara Davis, and I'm with the Family Enterprise Center at Kennesaw State University. I've worked with family businesses for over a decade now. Loved it so much that I decided to sell my house, make my husband quit his job, move to Mississippi, and study it for 4 years, get a PhD, and write a dissertation. I said, let's do this thing. So now I run the oldest family enterprise center in the country. We've been doing this for almost 40 years, and we provide educational resources, support, and really a community for family businesses. Everything we do is grounded on this one belief that family businesses belong. That family businesses are important, they deserve a space, they should be honored, they should be celebrated. And so when Misha came up with the idea to collaborate and create this space for family business leaders to ask questions, share ideas, and connect once a month, how could I say no? This is incredible. So the goal with these virtual office hours is not for it to be just a traditional webinar or a panel, but to have an actual conversation. So as such, the chat is open. Feel free to unmute yourself. You can just barge right on in. That is a-okay. If you're doing something else, feel free to type in the chat and we will monitor and read out loud. So welcome. We're excited to have you all here. Love the guests. You all are going to be incredible as we talk about wealth solutions for family businesses. But let me pass it back off to the one, the only Dr. Misha Ford, so that we can navigate what we're doing this evening.
So no, we're just here talking. I'm gonna throw it all the way out to the left field. Shannon, what is a Rockefeller Trust? Boom. Boom.
So, if anyone knows the Rockefeller family, they engaged in very, very specific estate planning that allowed them to create the family business, to create wealth, generating income through that planning and through a trust. And so that trust allows everything that they have made to continue through the family, down the family lines. It lines up with including things like insurance, including things like stocks, including everything that all of us talk about together as that wealth building technique. And then it's housed under the umbrella of the trust to keep those family assets from going into probate and from, let's say, escaping the family structure. So it is, it's just specifically named after the Rockefeller family because that is how it was created. They're the ones who started that type of trust. There are many trusts that are structured very much like that. They're not necessarily Rockefeller Trust because that family has that name on that. But it is a specific type of revocable trust that allows people to create wealth and build that through the family structure and a business plan.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm going to go down the line. You said this is everyone. So can I ask the question, what is it irrevocable trust?
Okay. So irrevocable trust is one that is not as flexible as a revocable, right? Contrary to what people see on TikTok and other mediums nowadays, right? It is not as simple as going on to a website and creating it. It is an entity, it is a standalone document in which people house their assets. When you create an irrevocable trust, you cannot be your own trustee, meaning you are no longer managing those assets for yourself and by yourself. You name someone else to be the trustee, they manage them. Oftentimes in families, it's a son or a daughter or somebody that you can still say, hey, go in and sell this or do that. But for all practical purposes, you're no longer managing, you are no longer in control of the assets in that trust. And it is for assets that you own outright. For instance, a family home that's been in the family for 3 and 4 generations and has no mortgage, that can go in an irrevocable trust. Oftentimes people put businesses in the irrevocable trust, so the business itself is double protected We can talk about how you organize that business as a LLC or incorporated and all of those things. Those things give them protection, but how you house it in the trust and the type of trust sometimes adds additional protection. Another thing with an irrevocable trust, sometimes people put all of their assets in that type of trust because they are relinquishing rights to control it. And what that offers then down the line is Medicaid protection. We could be sitting here all day long. That could be a whole other conversation. But that is the type of trust that provides Medicaid sort of protection.
You okay?
And in addition to that, the irrevocable trust is going to have its own EIN and it's going to file its own tax returns. So that's something a lot of people don't realize when they start talking about creating trust. Is one thing they have to do is they have to file a tax return, and the tax rates on trusts is at 40%. Yeah. Straight out right out the gate. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not graduated.
Oh, goodness. Wait, we're throwing facts out now. Thank you.
Yes, only, like you said, though, that's only for irrevocable. A revocable trust does not get its own EIN. It's still attached to the person and their social. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a small business. What do I select? What do I select? I want it in my, do I want it in a small business to be protected? Do I want it as an individual? What do I want to do? I'm coming to you guys. What do I do?
All together now. It depends.
Oh my God. Did you just say it?
People where all day, every day we say it depends, right? There is no blanket answer for that, especially when it comes to trust planning, which is why what I do is custom estate planning, because it really does depend on the situation. It depends on what your goals are. It depends on what you have, what your asset structure is like. It depends on whether or not this is a business that has blended family aspects or not. It depends on if you have minor children that you want to think about. It depends.
It depends. Yeah. It's so many different factors that go into the actual conversation. And then it's not one of those one size fits all kind of deals. It's like, hey, well, you may want to put these assets here in this part, but then you may want to put these assets in this, so it's a really diverse and really kind of really varied conversation. We got to really think and talk about it.
Yeah, it's definitely something you want to individualize as opposed to having a cookie cutter approach. You can literally have two families with identical demographics and circumstances, but one little thing can be different for one family, and that can change the total plan and structure of everything for between the two families. So one person could an irrevocable trust could be perfect for this one family. The family could be, same age as the second family, same amount of children as the second family, the whole nine. But the one family has a blended family, the other family does not. The one family could have elderly parents and the other family could have parents that are deceased. And all of these dynamics can change the response that we will probably give based on these one or two little idiosyncrasies between one family and the next.
Awesome.
Michael and I often refer to it as a puzzle. Yeah. Because estate planning is very much like a puzzle, especially when we incorporate a trust in it. Because think about the fact that a puzzle comes in a box with a picture on the outside. And then it's got 500 or 1,000 pieces on the inside. Everyone individually, as well as couples collectively, have an image in their heads of what they want their legacy picture to look like. But everybody individually, as well as collectively, also have 500, 1,000 life's pieces. And so that puzzle cannot be put together the same for everyone. It has to incorporate all of those individual pieces.
Awesome. Okay.
When do you recommend people start thinking about a trust? Is there such thing as too soon? I know there's too late.
Right.
Yeah, I was about to say
It's
that.
always too
It's
late.
always too late.
Always too late. but-
It can always be too late.
Yeah.
So I come at this approach from 4 aspects. And I say, one, everybody should engage in estate planning, whether it includes a trust or not, from the time they turn 18.
Okay.
18. Why? Because 18 is the operative age where mom, dad, guardian, whomever
Yeah.
can no longer speak for you financially or legally. So everyone should engage in estate planning from the time they turn 18. Those that I, generally speaking, tell should incorporate a trust into that are people who are business owners, right? People who own real property, whether there's a mortgage on it or not. People that have assets that they want to strategically distribute, people with bank accounts and life insurance policies and retirement accounts and any sort of financial accounts and vehicles and stuff, right? We tend to accumulate stuff during our lifetimes. And then the fourth group of people I recommend a trust for has got 3 parts to it. Anyone with minor children,
Mhm.
anyone in a blended family, and then quite frankly, anyone with an interest in leaving a legacy. All of those people should think about incorporating a trust into their estate plan.
All right. I love it. Okay, so we're off of trust. Now we're going over to what's going on in the market with stocks, Mr. Robinson.
Well,
What
believe it
should
or not,
I,
believe it or not,
so,
the markets are doing quite well. Despite all the noise that we have in the markets, things are going well. Um, I always caution people not to look at and listen to the noise. You really want to look at the fundamentals of what the market is or what the markets are. And you base your any kind of investment decision based on the fundamentals, not what's going on here, there, regionally. But I also say you must also have a well-diversified portfolio. We have a lot of younger people who all have Bitcoin. That's all they invest in, or they buy, the stock of the day that everybody's purchasing. I think the the better route is always having a well-diversified portfolio with particular goals in mind, meaning long-term goals, not short-term goals in mind. And if you have a short-term goal, have a separate offshoot of your portfolio that is dedicated towards that short-term goal.
okay. So
Short-term
what's,
goal like vacation?
It could be vacation, it could be buy a house, it could be I'm about to get married in 3 years, it could be anything like that. I generally don't recommend if you have money that you're gonna spend within a year, you should not be investing that money because a lot can happen in a year.
Yeah.
But markets prove over a span of time, the noise gets canceled out over the longer the period is. So, you may have a good 6 months when you first start investing if and then you might have a bad 12 months. But over time, you're gonna kind of do much better than you would have if you didn't invest the money.
awesome. Okay. So this is just up for grabs right here. What's one wealth strategy you've heard about, but it hasn't exploded yet? Wealth strategy. Yeah. What are they talking about on TikTok? Because to me, I'll throw out all the TikTok questions.
Well, to be
Not
honest with
TikTok, social media. I'm sorry, social media. Social media.
Social media.
to be honest with you, and this is from a stock guy. I'm a stock guy. Um, in insurance is very important for multiple reasons. I think uh, we people neglect the insurance piece of their portfolios or any investments because it's not sexy because it doesn't do anything, right? You don't see it bounce up and down. You don't see flashing lights, but that insurance piece is very important. And so I've seen things I'm not a TikTok guy. I get people that call me and ask me about, hey, I saw this thing on TikTok, this IUL thing. And they asked me about it and I explained it to them. And then once I explained it to them, it is like, yeah, but what's the best stock I can pick? Because it's not sexy. It's nothing exciting about it. But there's a lot you can do with the index universal life insurance. So
Yeah.
that's one trend that I see that's let's say, underlooked. How about that?
Okay, so
Or
that's okay, what is an IUL? And you explain what it is. Could you give me a great definition that I would, oh, we got a question. Thank you. I'm Go ahead, Sarah. You want to go ahead and let's get this question out. And then I want to know what is an IUL because social media, they tell us a whole bunch of different things. I want to know what should I do with the IUL?
you want me to answer that first before we answer Mr. York's question?
Yep, and
Yeah.
yep, please.
So essentially, index universal life policy, quote unquote, IUL is a cash value life insurance policy that has indexes inside of it. And an index, I kind of say, if you're familiar with mutual funds or ETFs, they're very similar to that. It's just that you don't participate in the full scope of the market inside of an index. You are linked to that index, and whatever that index does is how you earn money inside the policy. People are familiar with whole life insurance, which is another cash value life insurance policy. Usually those policies are tied to a dividend, which is either tied to the profits of what the company does, and that's how you're credited your dividend. I'm a stock guy, so my automatic inclination is always to go to something that is market driven, not dividend driven, because the company may not have good profits that particular year, and so they may not be able to credit you, right? Now, uh, one of the index universal life policies that we sell here at Apogee with me and Megan, what we sell, it is either you make something or you make nothing. But you don't lose money. So as I tell clients, it's like the beauty of that is either you make or you don't lose. And the whole thing about investing is you want to limit how much you lose, and maximize how much you gain. And so essentially that's what that does for you.
Awesome. Robert, he wants to know, should I dump my Apple stock?
Oh, that's a intense question. Because I mean, if you bought it at $1 and it's now selling at what, $134 a share or whatever it is right
Yeah,
now,
may not.
you got a huge tax problem.
Yeah.
And so it just really depends on what your end goal is, are you nervous about Apple? I
Right.
mean, or if it really, again, it just really depends on what's your reasoning for wanting to sell it.
Yeah.
Robert,
Sometimes
we're
it's
here.
sentimental.
It's a safe place. It's a safe place, everybody. We're all here. Okay.
Yeah.
Question, Mr. York. How does the panel feel about fractional ownership of exotic assets like wine, etc., a strategy for growing wealth?
Can I
I
answer
think
that
it's good.
Yeah, well,
Wine.
one?
Yes.
As we're drinking wine.
As we're drinking wine. But I think the leading piece there with any kind of investment in something exotic or alternative, in taking on ownership is to make sure you do a lot of your research. A lot of market research will help lead you to making the best informed decision for yourself and making sure that you have reserves. If you're going to play in that kind of sandbox, if you will, then you definitely have to have a clear understanding that when you are investing into, for example, a wine company, that there is no promise that you're going to get a return. And you need to be comfortable with that, hey, at the end of the day, say everything goes bust. You got to be like, all right, you guys, we tried it out. It didn't work. Shake hands and part as friends and go on your way. If you cannot say that, or feel that way at whatever entry point that you're coming in, whether it's 10, 15, 50,000 plus dollars, then that's probably not the avenue for you. Your risk tolerance will probably not be able to handle the ebbs and flows of being a fractional ownership in a sector like that, because there's a lot of different contingencies that you have to think about. The other owners for how they believe in running a business, what their philosophy is about reinvesting in the business or paying themselves, and so there, and the legalities and liability exposures as well, making sure that you're covered the way you need to be covered. And if something were to happen to you, what next? Does your spouse or whoever will be next in line? So there's a lot of different things to go through, which is a powerful exercise. And it should, and it should supposed to exist. It's not supposed to scare anybody away. The point of going through that scrubbing and finding out if that's an avenue for you is to ask yourself those hard questions and go down that battery of what ifs, and then see how you feel on the other side of it. And that will help you see if that's going to be something that's a good fit for you or not.
Love it.
And
Anybody else want
from
to
the estate planning side on that, see what your documents say about that fractional ownership and the succession plan on it. Because if you can't pass down your portion of that ownership, then, you know, why are you in there? Right. And so that's another aspect of consideration as to why you are engaged in that fractional ownership and what is the succession plan allowed by the documents that outline your ownership interest.
Love it. Oh my goodness. Sarah, what do you
And
think?
from a tax standpoint, it depends on whether or not you're considered to be an active or a passive. There's going to be a active or a passive investment, because if it's a passive investment, you may, I mean, so it could be a situation where this this could be the next great thing. And so you may want to invest in this because you have the potential to literally make a boatload of money in a short period of time, because the owners are going to, you know, create this wine and they're going to sell it, and they're going to, in 3 to 5 years they're going to sell it for for a huge gain. So there might be something where it could be a short-term position that everyone is taking, and they need add additional investors to make that happen. So when we look at that from a tax standpoint, you may be thinking, going back to the should I dump my Apple stock? Um, I know if I invest in this wine company, I may be able, as Michael was saying, I may be able to sell my Apple stock for it and for a huge gain, because I'm about to make this investment in this wine company that may or may not pan out, but I still have I still have can offset it with the sale of that Apple stock. So it's a
Collateralize it. Yeah.
it's like cogs on a wheel. They all these things fit together. So it's more than just one consideration that hopefully that your team is thinking of, which is why the the three industries that are represented here, the four of us, when we have clients, we talk to them about those things, because generally what happens is a person will come to one of us because they're thinking about one aspect of the scenario. And these, as you can see, all these other different aspects come into play that can affect you. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. These things come into play in situations where it's not going to affect you today. It might not even affect you tomorrow. But 6 weeks from now, 6 years from now is when the additional effects could possibly come into play. And then we are left with the statements of, man, I wish I had known then, or I wish somebody had told me, or if I wish I had asked somebody, because I didn't know the famous last words. And we have clients come through our offices all the time. Well, the statement at some point during that conversation is, oh, I didn't know this was going to affect me like that.
Okay. Was that a good, I think that was a really good like answer all across the board.
I think it's a little bit different of a perspective. So
Yeah.
we talk about it in terms of wealth management, but I'd be remiss not to ask, what's your goal with this? Is your goal to develop your portfolio? Is it to diversify? Or do you just have some money burning a hole in your pocket and you were like, I don't need another sports car. What if I invested in something weird so that when
Right.
I'm at, lunch with all of my friends, I can say, look what I own. And it's just a flaunt metric. Now there are wealth management ramifications to that, but that's a goal some business owners have.
Right.
I love it.
And a lot of times, sorry, Shannon, go ahead.
I was about to say something to talk about on the golf course.
Right.
And so what I was going to add is a lot of times, sometimes you have people that they're in such a position that they, to your point, Sarah, they don't necessarily need another stock. They don't necessarily need another anything. But they're still making money, and they understand the name of their game is, and which is what we all help do is one is to help create wealth, then is to help preserve wealth, help grow wealth, and then help pass it on. So in this particular case, it could be a scenario where, okay, so I have all the stocks, I have all the estate plans, I have all these things, but I'm still making money. Going back to your original example, I think we were talking about earlier, Misha, with the chiropractor and the wife, and they have all this money and they're making all this money, but it's still, you still have a different problem. So you start buying, not necessarily buying into a wine factory, but you go into and start buying vineyards, and you start buying real estate. You start buying homes in California and in Aspen and wherever else, not because there's a need, but because you just have so much money and you want to preserve the wealth that you're creating with your other businesses. You have to park it somewhere, and you don't want to just leave it in cash.
Marcus, thank you. That was good. I want to go to Napa for some wine. After this, Sarah, we could just go on over there and get us some wine, bring it back, and then we could talk further about this exotic asset.
Maybe that's where we'll hold next month's office hours. Instead of being virtual, we'll be in Napa for your birthday.
That's it.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's it. We're going. That was easy. Okay, so next, I would like to talk a little bit about what I'm always on social media. Okay. I want to believe it. So we got y'all here because you guys are like the situational experts, and you could tell me if I should believe it or not. As a small business, I wanted to go back to, if I wanted to, like the guy here, he said he's want to invest in wine. What if I want to invest in like manufacturing with the economy like it is right now? Is that a good idea as for a wealth strategy for the next 5 years? Say for the next 5 years, based on what's going on, the trend now. Marcus, you laughing. Come on, let's
No,
go.
because the answer is going to be, it
It
depends.
depends.
Okay. Okay, let me say this then. Okay. So, all right. Okay, depends. I'm gonna start with this depends. Let me get a really good question that is not gonna be on depend. Let me give you a real scenario. Let's get a real scenario.
No, I mean, we can answer the manufacturing question.
The case study.
Yeah.
The case study.
I'll be a case study.
Try it this way. What factors should we consider if we're trying to make an investment in manufacturing and we'd like to see a return in the next 5 years?
All right,
Boom.
so tariffs are a big issue right now. So you have to determine on where you're going to do your manufacturing. What your margins are, because your margins are no longer what they used to be. Because we have the big T word. And then the big T word and the small T word, taxes and tariffs, right?
Yes.
So, then what are you manufacturing?
Where are you going to sell it?
Yeah.
Who are you selling it to?
Where you gonna sell it? Who you gonna sell it to? I think that's been a big issue with manufacturing in America, because, wages are a lot higher here than in other places. So, the margins are a lot smaller. So, if I am making a American flag and I can make it in China for $1.67, or it costs me $22 to make it in the United States, I'm going to make my American flag in China. I mean, unfortunately, that's just, smart business, right? So it just, like we said earlier, it just really just depends on, what you're manufacturing.
Okay. Okay. Y'all got me sweating now. Like, I mean, I'm like sweating. Like, I don't want to ask. Oh, wait, hold up. What's in the chat? We got a question or a statement?
It was a statement. I didn't
Okay.
see it. I couldn't get all of it.
It's very accurate. It may be challenging as understanding difference in manufacturing climate for all the different industries. So I think, yeah, we pretty much, yeah, we definitely answered that. So we definitely answered that. Thank you so much, Mr. York. I wish you would, is that the guy with the beach? Because I can't see anything.
Yes.
He has the beach behind. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure. I can't really see you guys because I have one screen. So what I want to go into, I guess, a little bit, what do we see coming up in the next, because you guys are the gurus, in the next 5 to 10 years in changes within tax code? Or I'm here for it. Come on, let's go.
Oh, Jesus.
I believe the purge is going to be real.
Oh, okay.
The
Okay.
movie.
No. That was a good one. That's what we are, guys.
But like, sorry to jump in. I'll let the tax professional go after this. But like, just as a consumer myself, and somewhere out here in these streets with the rest of us, right? Like, we've had a lot of expenditures in the last 10 years as a country. So, when you think about the pandemic, that played a huge role, and with the other movements that are happening on a legislative standpoint and whatnot. So, we've had a lot of expenditures, and it's like, okay, who's going to pay for that? And just as history has always told us, it typically, in one way, form, or fashion, will trickle down to the taxpayers. So that is something that we do keep in the forefront of our minds. And the best advice that we will have for our clients when we're reviewing their portfolios is to make sure that they are properly diversified, and not just diversified on the investment standpoint, but tax diversification is really even more important for one's portfolio. Because if you have a bunch of money in one bucket that's all going to be taxed the same, for example, with most traditional retirement accounts, you're paying your taxes on the harvest, not the seed. So the deal is that, hey, I'm gonna let you take these tax breaks today while you're working so you can stuff away this cash. Boom. Fast forward, it's time for you to clock out. You got two checks to cut, one for me and one for Uncle Sam. And Uncle Sam's going to want that money. So, which is not a bad move, because I've been saving the past like 20 plus years during my working years on
Okay.
on the front end, right? So, and then we have a lot of folks are familiar with Roth type of accounts, or non-qualified accounts. So those are taxed differently. And with the Roth, you are getting taxed on the seed and not the harvest. Not a bad jab at it, but the thing is, you're gonna feel it differently in your paycheck. And then when you fast forward, only one check is getting cut to you. And excuse me, and so it's about just making sure that you have the right diversification in your portfolio and a clear understanding. So when you are in need of those income streams, or you're trying to exercise your income streams, you are not blowing yourself up, if you will, on a tax front, and panicking and pulling money from all these different accounts without a consistent strategy or a plan, because then you can put yourself in a situation where you're paying more taxes than necessary then too. So that's what I would say. I expect them to go up? Probably, and it'll look a couple of different ways, everywhere from federal down to the local. People are tightening up their belts today. I am. I'm over here trying to like not go to Publix all the time because it's expensive.
Right.
So I'm
And
trying to
buy
hold on to
shoes.
my coin.
Yes.
But you're gonna have to it's gonna be some behavior modifications too, and that's something else that's very integrated into this whole conversation, is the behavioral finance. So how your behaviors are, you're going to, like, we have to change bad behaviors. That's something we have to do with our money, whether you're a business owner or not. At the end of the day, you're still a human. You're still a regular consumer. The only thing is you got a jacket that says business owner. So
Period.
whatever behaviors you have as a consumer, you're going to carry over. Tag your it.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm putting myself on mute because she is fun. Okay, I'm ready.
So I read a white paper several years ago about it's kind of surrounded around the modern money theory, right? Essentially, you print money, but you slowly have to increase prices and tax people to pull the money back out of the system. And so that's what I foresee happening is we're already seeing the price increases. And then we'll also see the tax increases at some point in time. They're not there yet, but it's inevitably it's going to have to happen to pull that money back out of the system. So,
Right.
And couple that with, and then I'm tagging it right back to you. Couple that with the fact that we are coming upon what is about to be the biggest transfer of wealth, historically.
yeah.
And so with that in mind, the tax structure is inevitably going to change. Some of the laws are about to sunset and putting it back to Marcus on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what everybody else has already stated, so there'll be a lot of changes. There potentially will be a lot of changes in the next 12 months, which is 25, in the next probably 24 months. That's because back in 2017, when Trump was in office the first time, the Tax Cuts and Job Act was passed. And so all these changes happened for the tax year of 2018. All those changes were set to take place, were set to end or sunset at the end of 2026, which is next year. So we could be looking at a lot of changes, just significant changes, because there were quite a few changes that happened back then, and it's a lot. We could be looking at a lot of changes that'll be happening at the end of 26 that'll be taking place. Some of those changes I anticipate will sunset. Some of those changes I anticipate will stay in place. And as well as not only those, but then there could potentially be a lot more changes to be announced or to take place at that point. And at what in 26 was for the tax year of 2027. You asked about the next 10 years. That's a little bit harder to predict because that's going to happen. So a couple things kind of weigh in on that. A couple things probably contributes that. One is depending on what kind of changes that actually happen in 26. The first question is, how long will those changes be in effect? Will those changes be 5 years, 6 years, or like this last one we just saw, 8 years? So it's a lot of things that can happen there. And then there's also that we look at things that happen in the economy and just in the world in general and how that works, because what Congress does is they utilize the tax code to drive behavior. So anytime they want something to happen, they want the behaviors of the general public to change, they utilize the tax code to do that. So if, for instance, if a quick example is when the country started with the Section 8 program, they started a Section 8 program when they wanted to get out of the public housing environment. So in order to divest themselves from the public housing environment, Section 8 was created. So now Section 8 became a big thing. So the country could divest themselves from public housing, having to maintain, and keep the public housing up. So now private landlords are now providing this providing housing for people in the public sector. So that's one way that like the country utilizes the tax code to change the behaviors or to modify what people are doing in the economy.
And they wanted that land. They wanted it. Sorry.
The question, how would the panel counsel older business owners that are prepping for succession to the next generation to also prep themselves for Medicare and other retirement benefit concerns? That's a loaded check.
Oof.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So an older individual who is managing all of those things should consult with somebody or a group of people that is managing all of those things. They need somebody that handles elder law. They need somebody that handles taxation. They need someone that can tell them, okay, now you're on this part of your portfolio, or you're on this part of your succession planning. So it shifts the conversation. Really, it kind of is cyclical, and it shifts. You know, a young person is looking at it from this standpoint, and we collectively look at it from, okay, if you're looking at it here today, how does that impact 25, 30 years from now? And things change when things like death, divorce, disability, disqualification, meaning I had this job yesterday and I came with all these fantastic benefits, including life insurance and everything else. And now I no longer have that job, or your family unit has changed, or even the business structure has changed. So age really isn't a factor, other than now the exact conversation that we were having when you were 28, we're having that same conversation from a different lens when you're 68 or 78.
Yeah.
Mr. York, yeah, you good? We are definitely going to have a whole session with you because I like your questions. They're really, really good. Really, really good. Okay, so Terry Kate.
Do you
Yes,
mind
please.
if I plug in
No,
just a little
sure.
bit? I would say just from sitting down with folks, everything from Gen Z to like a tradition, like someone who would be categorized like traditionalist generation, late 60s or 70s, well 70s and beyond, excuse me, baby boomers are getting into their 60s and 70s now, is that there's a coming full circle moment for sure, where it's the same kind of conversation, but some of the characters have changed up. One of the things that I have seen as well is, I wish I would have done this earlier, is always the takeaway, but they just didn't know how to have the conversation, is what I have found. I've sat down with a gentleman who was a multimillionaire. He did all the right things, diversified portfolio and this, that, and the other. And it did not occur to him to have a conversation about his succession planning and estate planning until he told me he was on a boat with a friend in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And he was like, if this boat goes down, he didn't have anything in place. And it was just like that.
That's simple.
Yeah.
It was just that
Yeah.
simple. So when
Wow.
people try, I think what we try to do is we try to overcomplicate it just because we get older. And there's some things that do change because we get older, families and so on and so forth, life happens. But it was just like that. That's what his story was to me, because he had all the other things. And it helped me define my role with him, because he thought I was coming along to be the investment person and pitch him that way. This guy in his semi-retirement turned his downstairs basement basically into Dagum Naxtac. He had a runner and everything. Like, he was living his best life being a pretend investment banker. And like, so he knew all of that, but he did not have the basics. So if something were to happen to him, then all of that hard work would have been, I wouldn't say complete to waste. The thing is that it would have been a horrendous experience for his family, at any dollar level. But of course, I mean, we have a whole song called "More Money, More Problems," and that's real. Like, and he had a fear of insurance and so on and so forth. But no, it's really that simple. It's just one of those things. Like, life was going so fast, I didn't stop to think about it.
Oh, okay. What I mentioned to you guys, I call a wait team. I call you guys the wait team. We wait to call y'all until everything is all wrong. We wait to call
Yep.
tax man.
Until
We
something
wait.
happens.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we wait. We just wait, and then, oh my God, we need a estate planner. We wait until we need y'all, and we forget that we need y'all in the beginning of about what, 18 years old, you
Process.
said?
Yeah.
18. Let's
And
kind
and
of
all the while we're actually screaming for you. We're here to help you. We're here to help you. We're here to help you. And people go, we'll wait.
Yeah.
We'll wait.
So, and it actually helps us modify our business model even, because one of the things that we've had conversations of and been approached to do is doing like family planning, like with the entire family.
Yep.
And we will encourage like all ages to be in that room at some point, because what do we do as children? We imitate. That stuff is imprinted on your brain. Like I remember growing up when I got my little greeting card in the mail, like you looked at the color card, like, yes, you're looking for the $5 bill inside. That's what I want right now. So, and I remember the action of going with my mom to the bank on a Saturday morning, standing in line and stuff like that. So fast forward to college, when I'm working, I was like, I remember standing there with my check. I was like, I need to go to the bank. And I need to give this to you. And it was like, even though all the details and stuff weren't necessarily there, I knew that I was following in these footsteps and this imprint that I had in my brain from what I remember when I was younger, where I needed to put some money away. And it's just that simple. So when you start bringing the kids younger and younger and having more of an open dialogue, it helps shave the barrier down for making it as hard when they're older. But it also helps share with them things that they need to know about for themselves. But then as adult children, we're in a whole different realm where our roles start doing this. They start kind of switching with our parents, and it's like, whoa, and that's a whole thing in itself. But
Yeah.
bringing the family in and making it a family fair is something that has started changing our modeling and who we're talking to and how we are approaching that piece too.
I think
We'll
that's
see.
interesting because a lot of the business owners I work with and some of the people I'm seeing on the call right now, you didn't have that behavior modeled for you. So I see quite a few first generation entrepreneurs on the call. And if you've never had anyone model, what does it look like saving for taxes? When you get that first quarterly tax bill, I gave it back to my husband. I said, no, I'm not paying this. There's no way I owe this. And he's like, you didn't have taxes taken out of your W-2 because you own your own business. And so not having someone to learn those things from, I think, coupled with this idea that no one wants to think about their own mortality, we will live forever. That's why they wait to call you all, because I don't know that I should call you all. I didn't know there were service providers out there. I didn't know these were obstacles I was even going to face, and I'm not going to die. So why would I set up a succession plan or an estate plan? And it's kind of scary out there because there's so many entrepreneurs that are just lost.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about that is, so to your point, Sarah, as absolutely correct. Um, the funny thing is, you said no, we never think about we're going to die, even though we just left the funeral 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So like I don't understand how we end up with that thought in our heads, but we all do. But more importantly, when we talk to clients, like when collectively and as well as individually, when we're talking to clients, we try to impart on them, you all, the audience, that we are not here to squash your dreams or to tell you what you can and can't do. We're here. We're actually on your side. We're here as radar detectors, if you will. So if you think about back in the 80s when you were driving down the street, everybody who was driving in the 80s and 90s, they had this little thing on their windshield, and it was a radar detector, and that radar detector was to help you keep from getting a speeding ticket, because if you got that speeding ticket, it wasn't just the ticket we were keeping you from. There was the ticket, there was the increase in insurance and the whole nine. And back then you paid insurance 6 months at a time, so so your insurance was going to increase, and you got to do that for like 6 months, not every month or every other month, the way we pay insurance now. So you would invest that $300 or $400, whatever it was, in that little box that you put on your windshield to prevent you from having to pay these inexorbitant fees later.
Mhm.
So now you can go get the Mustang with the turbo and things of that nature
You
because
showing off. You showing off.
because you have something to help you, right?
Mhm.
But at that same point, that along those same lines, we are Shannon, myself, Michael, Megan, we are radar detectors. We are here to help you avoid those pitfalls, not only for the things that you can see in the next 3 to 6 months, but we're here to help you with the things that are going to blindside you down the road. Anywhere, sometimes it can be 6 months, it could be 6 years, it could be 60 years. We're here to help you with those items to keep that from happening because guess what? Once we get to that 6 months, 6 years, 60 years later, and these issues pop up, we can't go back to buy the insurance then or go back to you know what, I'm gonna go hire the CPA to tell me how to do this then. Like we're
Okay.
here now. So
I
we're
don't want to
here
cut
to
you off.
help you.
It's
Yeah,
seven
go ahead.
o'clock. So that's why I didn't want to cut you off. That's why I was throwing numbers and gang signs up. So
I was about to start ducking.
that's why I was throwing numbers up like, oh, it's 7 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock. I do want to invite whoever, stay if you want to. We can definitely keep the conversation going. We will keep you hostage if we could lock the room, but you can go and have a great evening if you would like, but we still will answer the question. So I'm sorry about that, Marcus. I just wanted to acknowledge that we go from 6 to 7. But this is the living room at this point. We're chilling. We are just having a conversation. And I want to go back to one thing that you guys said, Megan. The platform is used for this generation to be able to build the next generation in a in the right way, right? And what's the right way? We were not taught which way to do it to be successful. So that's really the reason why we're trying to have the office hours together. As in we get, people to come in, you guys are experts and say, hey guys, you may need to shift this. This may, the strategy you have, maybe we need to shift how this goes, or you need a team to make sure that just boat don't sink and all of these things are going wrong. So that's the meaning of the platform. So I'm so happy you addressed that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just to add to that, I do some mentoring at the high school as well. And one of the things that has been a great takeaway and made me better at what I do with the kids is I will expose my failures too. So don't get it twisted that it's always just the glass is half full. That's just not how life works.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've got to be okay to be vulnerable in front of this next generation. That helps us to better connect because they'll see us as human, and that helps build that relation that I can relate to you. I can relate to you, bridge a lot better because I'll be like, look, I remember I first got my first credit. Even despite that, when I first got my credit card in college, okay, it was a lot going on. But
right.
no, but exposing your failures and then telling like how you climbed out of it, and even if it took a while too. So no, I appreciate this entire forum because that's how iron sharpens iron.
Right. I know. That's my thing right there. Yes. I mean, you got to know to fail every day. I eat no for breakfast. So on to the question. I'm going to go on to the next. Terry, wait, yeah. Terry, how can a growing family enterprise prepare for multi-state or international tax implications Terry, seriously, as we scale beyond our local market? Terry, how many drinks you had? Like, where are we going with this, Terry?
And then offline.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say the first thing that you want to do is you want to engage a tax advisor. I think we can find one somewhere in this room. But you want to engage a tax advisor early and consult with them often. That's the best thing to do because because there's so many moving parts to that question that there's no way to say, hey, Yeah, you want to go do this because that question is so open-ended. But yeah, but the best thing the best thing that you could do in a situation like that is to find a tax advisor, and engage with them early and speak with them very, very, very often.
Awesome.
There's so many things that come into factor, like,
Correct.
which state am I incorporating in, or if I'm going to be a corporate entity, or there's so many different things that have the answer for that question you just can't answer it.
We got it. We got it. We got it. Terry's
And I wanted to circle back to when we were talking about the taxes. This is just a funny conversation I had last week with a client. She had started a business, and I did my yearly follow-up with her. And I was like, hey, how's the business going? She's like, yeah, I stopped doing that because I made too much money and had to pay too much taxes. And I was like, to me, that was like the worst thing to even, I was like, what? She's like, yeah,
They
my
said that
tax
to
bill was
Marcus.
ridiculous. Huh? So she's like, yeah, my tax bill was too high. So I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. And I was like, having a tax problem is not a problem. It's meaning that you're making money.
That's a good
problem.
But we also have to acknowledge, we do a piss poor job in America with financial literacy.
Yes.
Like non-existent. So we matriculate through school. You can make it from kindergarten to getting a PhD and never be required to take one class on financial literacy, yet we're all strapped with the responsibility of saving for all of our stuff, including the biggest savings for retirement when we clock out. And then taxes, after you get that first offer letter or wherever you are, when you get that, you get the next thing is like, who just fleeced me in this pay stub? And that's your introduction to taxes. Like, hey,
who's Mike?
Exactly. Who is this? My daughter, she came with her first check and she said, "Mom, I'm gonna make this. She got in the car, I'm gonna make this amount of money." I didn't say nothing. I just sat there. She opened that check and it was like $50. She was like, "My check gonna be $300." I'm sitting there like, girl, she got in that car. She cried. She cried her little eyes out. It was nothing that we could do. She had to feel the sting. But so let me go on to the next question from Terry. For families running multiple businesses under one umbrella, how do you decide when to consolidate under a holding company versus them keeping them separate?
Ooh, that's another, it depends.
It depends.
It depends.
Yeah, it depends.
Terry, just call us.
Call us. We'll talk, because it's a lot of background information that we need to answer that question. And this, the sheer fact that you know about holding companies means you're well and far advanced than most individuals.
Right.
So your conversation is going to be a much higher level, more conversation than we can probably even have on this call right here.
Terry's not playing around. She is
not.
one of the most impressive business owners that I know.
Multi-universal.
She really is. She really is. She like, tell me what to do. Map it out. Put it on the board. Hurry up. Do it now. What's the question? What's the answer? Hurry up. Okay. So Terry, we are going to give you 15 minutes with the team. They did not say that. I already just said that they're going to give you 15 minutes. Ask all of these questions, but make sure you ask them right, or you will get the answer. It depends. No. Will happen.
Again, when it's a one-on-one consultation, it's more defined, right?
Right.
But when it's open air, because the thing is, in this industry, people take tidbits of what people say and run with it. And that situation may not apply to you.
Right.
And then the finger's pointed back at us like, oh, well, the people on the screen said I need to do this. And we were like, no, we weren't talking to you about that particular situation.
Oh, right. Like, so we're in social, right?
You mean to tell me that a 15-second clip on TikTok is not solid financial advice?
Not at all.
Not quite. Not quite. So I think what happens is, and maybe you all can help us understand, because we ask the question amongst ourselves constantly. When we enter in forums like this, and we give answers such as it depends, but you have our contact information. Please reach out and call us.
Put it in the chat, y'all. I need your contact. Let me go get it. Sorry, I'll go get it.
So we ask you to reach out and call us, but our phones never ring after the conversation. And so it gives us the impression that everybody wants to nobody wants to pay for the advice that they need, and they want to get all of the advice in this particular forum. So they're going to ask a bunch of super specific questions as it pertains to themselves. But they aren't going to ever they don't pick up the phone and call to say, okay, Michael, this is the situation I was asking you about. So is this, and this? How can you help me? And so for whatever reason, and I don't understand it, but the audience doesn't ever take that next step by picking up the phone and calling to get a specific answer for their specific question. Because as I stated earlier, you can ask two questions. You can take a scenario where you have two people, similar circumstances, but one issue is different, and it changes the total dynamics of the answer.
Wait, Terry, did you used to go to Circle of Trust? Oh, she left? Okay,
Yeah.
I found her. I'll get a hold of her. That's fine.
Let's go to the same church.
I hunted her down. Wait a minute. I think I
Okay.
might know her.
All right. Next question. Wait, did I lose the questions, guys? Okay. Robert.
And so with Mark is
go ahead.
saying that, so
Wait, she's gonna do another.
I'll interrupt. With Mark is saying that,
Sorry.
so as as financial people, we're always constantly trying to improve our process, improve what we're doing. So I sat down with a consultant last week, explained to her my situation, and explained to her, the things that I see that are going wrong. And the one thing she said is that as financial people, we almost always do a call to action. And the call to action is, if you have any kind of question, please reach out to one of us to answer that question. Don't let that question just linger in the back of your head and never get answered. We are in the business of consulting people, but we're also in the business of helping people. And helping people is how we make our money, because a help turns into a consult turns into help, which translates to at some point in time into money. But the real true reason why we do what we do is because we like to help people. And so definitely reach out to one of us to answer your questions. Again, talking to one of us is like talking to all of us, because we're going to bounce. We're going to say, hey, I have no clue on that. Well, why don't you talk to Shannon? I know nothing about taxes, which I do, but I can't. So I said, talk to Marcus. So it's one of those things. So we're always going to, defer to the person who is the specialist in that particular area. I'll say this too. And if, this business is about personalities, if my personality doesn't resonate with you, hey, Megan is the most bubbliest person that I know. Talk to Megan. She'll definitely talk to you. So
I'm bubbly, but I will kill certain dreams. Certain dreams need to be shot out the sky. Okay.
Oh, okay.
It is what it is. Okay. And I appreciate when people do it to me. Like, no, it's not gonna work. Shoot it out the sky. Oh, now let's call.
It's okay. It's okay. No. And Miss Bubbly, come with the bubbles, girl. Drop them, drip them in. I'm not a dream killer. I might shoot it up a little bit, but thank you for that. We need all types of people on this call.
That is just a way to make it stronger. If you have someone that pokes holes, it strengthens the final product. There is nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. So one thing I will say about you, Sarah, you mentioned the TikTok thing. Oh, I'm sorry, the social media 15 or 30-second clips. But I'll let Shannon bring it home when she tells you about being on 285. But the sad thing is, a lot of times when you see people on social media, they will be talking about they'll start off talking about one subject, and it'll kind of bleed into another subject. They think they're talking about the same thing, but in all actuality, they are not. Shannon, you want to give them that?
Yeah. So our example that we often use is driving on 285 or 7585. And what happens when somebody veers out of their lane is an accident. We see them all day, every day. So when we have those discussions, I am not shy about saying, that is a Michael question, and diverting to Michael. And, oh, that is a Marcus question. You need to ask Marcus about that. And so many times talking about people engaging in this for the wrong reasons. I can't even count the number of times between us, we've had a discussion where this person just called me and they said, they need a trust so that they can hide from,
Yeah.
or they wanna make all of this money, but they don't know how. And so, we giggle about it amongst ourselves, but at the same time, we turn around and try to help those people.
Yeah.
Right.
How do I not pay taxes?
Yeah, right. How do I do this and not pay taxes? Or I want to have $1 million and put it in a trust. Well, do you have a money-making mechanism to make that $1 million? People have that misconception that just because I have a trust, now I'm gonna have unbelievable wealth.
Yeah.
Right.
And the trust is a document. It doesn't create the wealth.
Yeah.
Just like the building techniques can't be transferred without the estate plan. You can't have the tax strategies without the money-making mechanism. Like, it's all tied together.
Right.
And so it's our ultimate goal to get you down 75, 85 from Atlanta to Florida without having an accident.
I love that analogy because on one hand, it's like you need to stay in your own lane, and it's this acknowledgement that we're all experts on one particular topic, not all topics. But you can't just have one lane on 75, 85. It takes the entire interstate to make the traffic move when it does
Correct.
move. So I think that's a really cool way to think about it. And often, especially if you find yourself with a professional who's well connected and well versed on a variety of topics, if you get in the wrong lane, they will help you get into the right lane. And so
Correct.
it's better to ask someone for help and let them redirect you where you need to be than to never get on the interstate at all.
Correct.
Right. Right.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes. Come
I have a funny story
on.
about that one too. So my daughter is fearful of driving on the expressway. She goes to school in Kennesaw. She lives in McDonough with her mom. And every day she'd be like, oh man, this drive from school to, is ridiculous. It's taking me 2.5 hours. And I'm like, where are you going? Oh, I don't take the expressway. And so I literally got in the car with her one day and I was like, hey, we are going to drive on the expressway. We're going to shorten this 2.5 hour drive down to 45 minutes or hour, right? So I say that that analogy is sometimes it takes a person to help you get over your fears.
Yeah.
That can point you to go down the expressway when you're scared to go down the expressway. So, and that's what we do. We help you get over those fears and point you in the right direction and help you save time and valuable resources.
I love a good analogy, and that's a good one.
That is a good one. So am I in the fast lane or the slow lane? I need to know which one I'm supposed to be in. I needed you to say
Are you
that
about
for
to
me.
get off the exit? Or
I needed you to say that for me because that is,
You're an HOV
I'm
and you're a
perfect
one
with it.
person vehicle. It is.
I got a Porsche, I'm gonna come in with the whole complexity. It don't go 8 speed. The wheel might come off.
So whatever happened to radar detectors? Do people, where do people do now? Oh, what is that?
Stay in your phone
Waves,
now.
that's what it is. Waves, that's right. Okay. Yeah.
Competition.
Yeah.
Tanika,
GPS.
did
Tanika?
Tanika have a question?
Okay,
I saw it flash up there before.
yes. What legal and financial tools should I have in place to protect the business during a leadership transition?
Oh.
So one of the top, and actually this was touched on by Shannon. She was talking about the 5 Ds already. There's something that's called a buy-sell agreement. That's one of the tools that we use. Those 5 Ds. So for life events, if you were going into partnership with somebody or anything like that, and you guys need to transition the business, the divorce, departure, whether it's through retirement or you get ousted out by a board or whatever governing body that you have with that entity. You have disability, something happens to you, of course, death, if you pass away, disqualification. For whatever reason, maybe you lost your license for a particular sector that you need to make sure you stay licensed in.
Divorce.
Mhm.
Did I say divorce? And divorce.
Divorce.
And divorce.
Which is the business killer.
Which
Yeah.
we've actually experienced that. I've actually experienced that with three guys partnering together, and one of them just definitely took it for granted that he was going through a divorce. But my client's the one who called the meeting, and we brought up what the risk factors would be because they did not have a buy-sell agreement that talked to that. Which means if something were to happen to him, then they would be doing business with his wife.
Yes, with the spouse.
His ex-wife. So those are some serious considerations to walk through. And it's a serious conversation, but you're in business together. These are the type of conversations that need to happen. And a lot of times what we serve as is like kind of between your lawyer, kind of like a quasi mediator, and that kind of help you walk through that. But also for securing the business so that when you hit a bumpy road, whether it's personal or professional, you don't lose the value of your business because everybody don't need to know what's going on inside the house, right? So for you to protect the valuation of your business, there are going to be some legal strategies that you and documentation you can do to handle that. But also making sure in your business plan you are citing that next gen that's going to start stepping up into your middle and upper management roles and investing in their competencies too along the way. So if life does touch you, say you get in an accident on 285, you didn't pass away, but you're going to be out of commission for a while. Someone needs to step in. There's a policy for that where so you can have replacement costs to pay someone who has that same level of expertise. If you don't have someone in-house, you can go to the market, pay them until you can get back. That's business overhead expense insurance. That's something else that's a tool that we use in our world as well that couples with legal documentation. So there's a plethora of different tools you can use. It does matter and it does depend on how you're set up and who all is involved. But for any business owner, if legacy is something that's on your top tier, and handing it down with your family owned or closely held business, making have a great schedule of investing in the competencies of that next person that you see that talent into to groom those skills, send them off for training. That's what all the big companies do, right? They send them off for leadership training. And that costs a couple $1,000s. Those are investments, and that investments is directly correlated with the valuation of your business. So when you transition, you don't have this big dip in service or the experience of your clients that can cause you to lose revenue.
Awesome. I love it. We're at 7:22, so I'm just say 7:22 is my birthday, so I'm good with stopping right now. That's up to y'all.
Well, hopefully,
but let's continue.
Yeah, or hopefully,
Did we miss?
Happy to come back.
Yeah, happy to come back.
Wait, did we get Robert? Because I feel like I don't. How do you keep your financial strategy? Y'all know I can't hear. What'd you say?
Was it the Apple stock? Was he Apple stock?
No.
Oh.
How do you get your financial strategy from going flat when life business gets busy? When life gets busy.
Hire somebody.
Delegation.
Delegation is the thing.
I agree with
that.
Delegation
Delegation is always the most important thing. So you got to think about it. If you're a business owner and it just literally like, is it worth your time to go down to the mailbox and go get the mail? You hire somebody to do that. And so when it comes to your finances, you hire somebody to take care of that stuff for you so you can focus on doing how you actually make your money, which is inside of your business.
And that's scary. It takes a leap of faith. I get it. And it's gonna be a lot of meditation and prayer that goes with that because you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I'm in charge of somebody else. And you gotta pay them. So definitely that's where some of the emergence of business coaches come from as well. And then of course your finance to go ahead and start mapping out a pro forma to see what that will start looking like. You can start off with part-time or like contract. That's always cool. Start off with a quick little 1099, try it on, for a set period of time, not a week, you need some time. So give yourself like 3 months or, some time to see how that feels and see if you can keep up with it. And then you can start making a better informed decision as far as your next steps on something with more permanence.
Yeah, don't try to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
And I like to tell people, this goes back to our lane analogy. You know what you're good at, do what you're good at, and delegate out what you're not good at. So
Always.
that you can work on the business part of it. Like, I'll just use myself as an example. Um, I do have a business degree, right? But I'm an attorney. I enjoy being an attorney,
Which is rare.
which it is. I love what I do, right?
Wow.
The business aspect of what I do, though, still has to be done, or my firm is not going to continue to function. So
Okay.
I am constantly doing that cost benefit analysis. All right, is it going to cost me more to do this myself, or is it going to cost me more to hand it off to somebody else that can do it and enjoy doing it? Like, I'm in a space in life where I don't sign up for things I don't enjoy doing.
I
Right?
agree.
And if you want your business and your legacy to go forward, don't
Thanks,
do things
Robert.
that you don't do, that you don't enjoy. Yeah.
Okay. I think we
All right,
answered that. I have those
7:45. Let's
conversations. Yep. So I have those conversations a lot, hiring when it's time to hire, and all that whole checklist, Robert, if you want to talk about it, because depending on if you are only just you running a business, you guys get a little scary when it's time to bring people in.
Yeah,
You
it's
get a
true.
little shaky because you try to hold on to everything and you don't know how to let it go. And they're not going to be you. They will mess up. They're new, they're learning, but make the investment. It's completely worth it. It really is. And it does depend on, it's always going to depend on you. You're the leader, you're leading, and you're going to go as a leader doing this with the company. So that's
And you
my,
want to
that's
make
my,
sure,
that's my specialty right there.
yeah, you want to make sure that if you hiring someone,
Thanks,
they're
Eric.
not always they're because they may be seasonal or part-time, but that still doesn't make them a 1099 person. They can be considered still to be an employee. And one of the quickest ways to have your doors closed is to mess up with the Department of Labor.
Yeah.
And that will actually shut you down quicker than the IRS will. So if you are hiring someone, you need to consult with Misha to make sure that they are an employee or not, and pay them and hire them accordingly. So if you are paying them as a part-time person, if you are in control of certain things, then they are definitely an employee and not a 1099 person, contractor.
Could I piggyback off of that to say Marcus is the one who had to teach me the right way when it came to the whole differences of where I'm going to classify or categorize an employee, because it does matter. So thank you, Marcus, for that. It really it definitely matters. So okay, what other questions do we have? This is kind of cool. We probably need some more wine. What do you think, Michael?
I'm about to slide over to the back.
All right, anything else? Because we can close out. Sarah, let's go ahead and close out for this evening. And I would like to super thank our guests to come in. I think this was really informative. I want to keep this going probably in the fall, have them come back in September. And we're gonna pretty much try to put a series together. Yeah, you guys are gonna go to Kennesaw State and sit on the stage and do some stuff. Okay, that sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, thank you.
One of my
All right.
mentees is coming to y'all school. Yep, he will be there in the fall. KSU. Yep.
Hooty hoo!
Woo! Yay!
So that's just, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm sorry about that, but I'm just throwing it out there. So Sarah, let us know what's going on at Kennesaw. Where could we be effective? Where, you want us to, be there for you. Tell us what you need.
Yes, so we have a variety of educational programming coming up. So if you are a family business owner or know a family business owner or leader that would benefit, go to familyenterprisecenter.com and you'll see a list of all of our upcoming programming. We do a variety of both in-person and virtual programming, and we always have incredible guests, just like we did tonight. So if you'd like more of this type of engagement, check us out at the next virtual office hours, which you can also find at familyenterprisecenter.com.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you guys so much.